This is what the starter looks like when it's ready to roll. This has been going for, about a day and a half, but I really don't want to start my bread until tonight. So as you can see, there are active bubbles bubbling up. You can hear it, that it's releasing pressure at the top. That's why if you don't have one of these lids that releases it on its own, you need to loosen the lid and release it a couple of times a day. So this is ready to go, but I will start my bread tonight with it, and it should be just great. Okay, we are back ready to make our bread. This is 48 hours after we did the starter. And like I showed before in a previous video, this was super active this morning, which is probably when I should have used it. But I wanted to wait till night so that I could let it rise overnight because I didn't want to be baking bread at 10 o'clock tonight. So anyway, it's calmed down, but it's still bubbly. It should be fine. It may rise a little bit slower, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. So what you need, this makes 2 loaves of bread. So I'm doubling the recipe. If I've given you the recipe, it's just a single loaf. This is a double loaf because you'll use all the liquid in this jar for your double loaf. The flour that you need needs to be high in protein. So it needs to be at least 12%. The flour that I use is locally milled. It is called Artisan Baker's Craft Plus. They refer to it as ABC Plus. It's 100% organic wheat. It's a white flour, but it is wheat flour. And it, I think, is just 12%. Now I have, and this is more expensive flour. I have gone to Winco and bought flour that's 12.5%, I believe. That is a baking flour. It's a lot cheaper. It's not organic, but it has the same stuff. I think one of the things about this flour is it has some malt in it, and malt feeds the yeast as well as the high protein content that you need in order to achieve the results you want with this bread. So you can get it, this special bag that I have, or you can try Winco in their bulk section and just get that high protein baker's flour. All right, so I have put in this bowl 7.5 cups of flour. And you need a bowl that you can put a lid on. And I like this bowl because I have a pan lid that fits it perfect. So I put in here 7.5 cups of flour and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now some recipes will have you add honey, and you can add honey if you want. I have done it and have not done it. The honey just makes it a little bit sweeter. So if you want to add honey, it's about 1/4 of a cup of honey in here. Again, you don't need it. Sometimes your starter is really sweet. My date starter seems to be extra sweet. And a lot of times I don't ever put honey in. So it's just flour, salt, and then this starter, and honey if you want. But I'm going to take this starter, and like I said, we'll need all the liquid for 2 loaves of bread. And I'm going to pour it through a strainer because we want to strain off all the fruit. And remember, you want to save a little bit, right, to inoculate your next batch. So I pour it all in here, but I'll show you at the end. I'm going to squeeze out just like a teaspoon. So I just press the fruit down, trying to get all the liquid out of it. Sometimes it smells really yeasty, and other times it doesn't. I don't know what causes that. It is yeast, it's a natural yeast, but sometimes I wonder if I just fermented it too long. Not that it affects the bread, just sometimes the bread tastes more like sourdough if it's a really yeasty start, rather than just normal bread. And I don't love sourdough, so I don't like mine to taste sour. Okay, so once I've squozen out most of this, I just take it over my jar and I just squeeze a little bit more till I have just a little bit more left in this jar so that I can inoculate another batch with. It's super simple. And then you just toss this stuff. Okay, I put a lid back on this. See, it's just got a tiny little bit of liquid in there. I put my lid back on and I put it in the fridge and save it for the next time around when I want to make more fruit start. So you can use your hands or you can use a spoon. I start with a spoon, end up with my hands, and you just want to stir this up. Now all you're doing is making a shaggy dough. It doesn't have to be a perfect dough, because what's going to happen, and I forgot to mention that I am starting this like at 7 o'clock at night, because you want to stretch it 3 to 4 times before you go to bed. And you want at least 30 minutes in between your stretch. So right now I'm going to stretch it at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, and then go to bed. So, but you just stir it up, and you'll be surprised every time you come to stretch it, the dough will have changed. The flour will be a little more incorporated, the dough will be smoother, but at first it's just kind of shaggy. Now I know people who just leave it really shaggy like this. I like to mix it up just a little bit more, so I get in there with my hands and I make sure that all the liquid is incorporated. Sometimes you'll find that maybe it's a little too moist and you might need to add a little bit more flour, or sometimes you might feel like it's too dry and that there's excess flour, but you'll be surprised as it changes. You know, like if you stretch the inside, it's really sticky, and you can just keep incorporating that excess flour that you feel like is excess. And eventually it all works itself in, and it's really great. Like I really don't have trouble with the measurements that I just gave you, needing to alter them, really. I guess the thing that would maybe make a difference is if you filled your jar with way more fruit and less water, so you didn't have as much liquid when it all came down to it. But if you can see in my bowl, this is just shaggy. There is some drier stuff hanging out. I can continue to work that in, or just leave it and work it in on the next stretch. But that is how simple it is. This next step, you just mix all those 3 ingredients together and then let it sit. Now I'm going to show you what I will do when I come back each time to stretch. Like I said, this dough is going to become more and more ball-like and smooth. And so each time I go to stretch it, I'm going to stretch one side of it. Right now it's just pulling apart, but on your stretches it won't. Then I'm going to stretch the other side and turn it, and then stretch the other side. So you just kind of want to stretch it and fold it. There's really no right way. I promise it all works. You're just trying to get a good stretch with it. So that's the next step. We'll bake it in the morning. Oh, after your 3 stretches, 3 to 4 stretches, put a lid on it and just let it sit overnight. So at least 8 hours, maybe 10. You want it to at least double in bulk. Sometimes I let it go higher, so you'll see that this takes up this much of the bowl, and in the morning it will fill the whole bowl. And sometimes I've had it rise, you know, so it's almost mounding the top, but at least double in size. Okay, I just wanted to demonstrate my last stretch of the night. This is my 3rd stretching of the dough. So in between the stretches, I keep it covered. But as you can see, it is more ball-like, and the gluten structure is better. It holds together better. So I can just take it and pull it up out of the bowl. And then I just fold it over, and then I take another side of it and stretch it. Just kind of let it hang here. And then fold it over. And then I take another side and pull it up. Stretch it. Might feel a little sticky. You can see how, you know, before there was a lot of flour, now there's none, and the dough's actually kind of sticky. And the last side. So just kind of pretend that it has 4 sides, pulling it, stretching it, and folding it over. And then we're just gonna leave it, cover it, and leave it until morning.